Hey everyone. Welcome to a bonus episode of the Craft Parenting Podcast, the podcast about two Cincinnati craft beer lovers with a parenting problem.
Whoa, we are recording an episode in the same room, in the same house, in the same room, in the same city.
Yeah, you're back.
What is this madness?
You are back.
You didn't abandon me.
Yeah.
You just kicked me out for a week.
I mean, after recording at West Side with Mac, doing the Father's Day thing, and then this week you'll be out of town.
Well, in podcast land, I'm out of town.
Yeah, and then you were out of town to go to Indianapolis without me.
Hey, you approved that girl's trip. I mean, you could have maybe said no, but
maybe we'll talk about that while we drink some of these beers.
We can do that.
But this is a bonus episode. My name is Joe Ludwig, by the way, and that voice that you hear is my lovely wife and co-host, Caroline.
Hey, boo, how be you?
Yeah, we are here. We are drinking some beers, and this is
some delicious beers for how ungodly hot it is outside.
That is right. We are in the middle of a massive heat wave.
This is
feels like 105.
And this is when I normally would do camp.
Fahrenheit.
When I used to do camp.
Yeah.
I'd be dead. Figuratively, not literally, but possibly literally as well.
Well, your camp was in the evening.
It's still ungodly hot outside. We went for a walk up and down the street, and I was like, I need a gallon of water to recover from this.
Yeah. It's very warm. Very and humid. It doesn't help.
My mom caught COVID, so she can't watch the kids, which means that 3 days a week I'm working from home, so I can watch the kids while I'm trying to work. Yeah, it's going about that well. So this morning I decide that, Joe is in a meeting. Meetings are like half an hour to an hour. He's been in this meeting for 45 minutes. The kids are wired. And it's going to feel like 105 degrees outside again today come noon. So, breakfast, put on clothes, which turns into put on swimsuits, go outside and play, where they can run around and be crazy, and I can attempt to get some work done, but at the very least, wear them out, so when they come back inside, I can for sure get a lot of work done. And those little lights of my life refuse to come back inside.
Dude, I was surprised. I looked out the window to check on you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And Elliot was running. He was
running away from me and then was hightailing it up the ladder.
He goes up the ladder all by himself.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yes, he goes up the ladder all by himself. The only times he didn't go up the ladder all by himself was when he tried to carry the ball up the ladder with him.
Oh, no.
So I had to hold the ball and put the ball at the top of the play set so he could go up the ladder all on his own. Because he about had a meltdown when he could not climb up the ladder with the ball.
Oh, no. He does get frustrated sometimes.
So I'm trying to hang out in the shade. I got sunscreen on the kids. I got a splash pad going. So they have water/cooling factor. Elliot's happy doing his laps of go down the slide 3 times and run through the sprinkler. Sweet, your splash pad. Lily is doing whatever she does in the splash pad, being a wonky toddler. And so I'm like, okay, kids, it's time to go inside. And Lily's like, no. And Elliot is like, I live on top of the play set now. And refuses to come back towards the slide so I can push him down. Meanwhile, the sun is beating down on me like I'm in the middle of the desert. And I got very moist very quickly and then very cranky very, very quickly. But then we all came inside and had a nice cool drink and it was okay.
Yeah.
And your 2-hour meeting finally ended.
It did end, yes. And I was very well informed. The meeting was very productive.
Oh, you had a very productive morning because I was chasing the kids around outside by myself. Lights of my lives. Lights of my life. I only have one life. They have 2 lives between the 2 of them. I don't use that phrase a lot.
So this is a bonus episode, and we're doing a topic beer. And I think periodically we're going to do this.
Mm-hmm. We're just going to get crunk on a weeknight because we're not going to get crunk tomorrow. So it's totally fine. Like, this isn't going to lead into a drinking problem. It's okay, Joe. It's fine. We're good.
Well, last month we talked about coffee beers, and then the power went out. We couldn't even drink the big one.
No.
That was disappointing.
But it was so good when we drank it later.
But this month, or today, we are talking all about Goses.
We are, and specifically West Side Brewing's Goses, because the brewery is like down the street from our house, and they have some really yummy ones right now.
Now, before you read the description, we are going to do some special trivia today, and we have a special guest who is going to help us with this trivia question.
I'm so glad that we have special guests now.
So Last Jedi guy, finish the sentence. A Gose is a traditional German-style beer that is brewed with coriander and what?
You got this, Last Jedi guy.
Salt.
There you go. You did it. Good job. So we are talking about Goses. We have 3 different styles from West Side Brewing. And Caroline, what is the first style that we are drinking?
The first beer we're drinking is Gose, traditional German-style sour ale. Ale brewed with spices. 3.9% ABV and 7 IBUs. Their description is... Cloudy yellow with the fluffy white head, our traditional German Gose uses sea salt and coriander to make a truly unique beer. This brew leads with aroma of bread dough, lemon citrus, and a hint of lactic acid. The flavor is more doughy maltiness and some coriander spice that is followed immediately by a clean, firm sourness. The beer ends with a perfectly balanced hit of salinity to prime you for the next drink.
So Goses, huh? This is not a typical go-to beer for either of us, really.
It's not a typical go-to beer for you.
I don't think
I drink these.
Have we ever bought? We may have had this one on the show before.
I not necessarily I'll buy them to bring them home, just because I'm usually the only one that drinks them. So I have to drink the whole pack, and I've got 6 packs of beer in the fridge that I'm the only one that will drink until Joe accidentally opens the wrong beer. Which then either you drink it or you say, here, I got this beer out for you. And then I'm drinking it.
Yeah, so Goses are very light.
Mm-hmm. They are. Both in color, taste, and ABV.
Yes. So this is... Did you already say the ABV?
I did.
Yeah, okay, cool. I missed that. But so Goses, very crushable, very front porch.
They're great when it's ungodly hot outside. But it is nice and cool in our dining room right now. This fan is doing wonders. I love it. Ceiling fans for days.
You did some research.
I went to this fancy website called wikipedia.org.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not quite sure. We'll have a link in the show notes.
But I am curious because it says German style, and I keep hearing that Goses are German style, but the Germans have this pesky little law called the Reinheitsgebot.
They do have the Reinheitsgebot, which I need to do a whole episode on some point because it's super fascinating. But
so
yes, because
I'm wondering about that.
The first sentence in the article on wikipedia.org is Gose is a warm fermented beer that originated in Goslar, Germany. So, and it's usually at least 50% of the grain bill is wheat. Dominant flavors include a lemon sourness, a herbal characteristic, and a strong saltiness, the result of either local water sources or added salt.
Yeah, I did read that. Technically, salt is okay for the Reinheitsgebot because you can brew with ocean water.
Well, because of the use of coriander and salt, Gose does not comply with the traditional ingredient regulations of the Reinheitsgebot, but it is an allowed exemption because it is a regional specialty. Specialty? Specialty. That word is specialty. Words are just looking real funky today. I'm an engineer. So Goses are typically kind of sour because they use lactobacillus bacteria. And so it belongs to the same family of sour wheat beers which were once brewed across northern Germany and the Low Countries. So its other beers in the family are a wit beer, a Berliner Weiss, and a Hanover Broheim.
I've never heard of that one.
I haven't either. And the link for it is red, and it just says, this page has not yet been created. That's not helpful.
We have another beer.
We do.
Because like I said, Goses are very crushable. And we're sharing. We're sharing because it is a weeknight.
So our next beer is also a West Side Brewing beer. In case you forgot, we're drinking just West Side beers today. And it is a pineapple Gose. Again, it's a traditional German-style sour ale brewed with spices. It is also 3.9% ABV and 7 IBUs. I feel like that one was 3.9%.
They're all 3.9.
Okay.
And 7 IBUs.
So this description is, cloudy yellow with a fluffy white head, our German-style Gose uses sea salt and coriander to make a truly unique beer. This base beer lends aromas of bread dough, lemon, and a hint of lactic acid, while the addition of pineapple gives it huge notes of pineapple and tropical fruit and enhances the clean, firm sourness of the beer. It finishes with a perfectly balanced hit of salinity to prime you for the next drink.
This, I don't hate it.
I feel like the pineapple will balances out some of the sour for you, because I'm not getting as much sour as it was with the Gose. Also, the fact that all we're drinking now is Goses is going to help you out a lot, because it's not going to your palate isn't going to have to do a super shift.
Yeah. So
you're just going to get more into them as we go along. Like that time we went to Napa and had a bunch of red wine, and then all of a sudden we loved red wine.
This tastes like pineapple juice to me. Like it doesn't even, like carbonated pineapple juice.
It doesn't go that far for me. I can still get some of the salt and a little bit of the sour, but I can understand how you get that.
I mean, I get a little salt for sure.
I also, my allergies are a hot mess right now. So the fact that I can taste anything is a very good sign, but also totally crazy to me.
Man, this is good.
Mm-hmm.
This was an impulse buy, this and the normal Gose, just because I knew we had this next beer.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to do a Gose episode. Thought it would be a good idea.
I mean, 'tis the season. The only way we could make this more of with the season is if we recorded outside. But no, we ain't doing it.
We could.
You cannot make me spend more time outside right now. So I went to Indianapolis this weekend.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Why'd you go there?
It was a girls' weekend.
Oh.
Because I have a friend who's preggers and wanted to do a girls' weekend. So we surprised her with a weekend in Indianapolis. She knew we were either going to Indianapolis or Louisville, but she wasn't sure which one. And she was very happy to know we were going to Indianapolis. I packed the car. I go to Target to pick some stuff up on my way. Realized that I did not grab any beer. And I was like, well, they said it would be fine if I drank. And I have all this beer in the beer fridge that I need to drink. So, and I also broke a nail. And I didn't have nail clippers. So I'm just going to drive back home because it's 2 minutes to get back home. And technically it's on the way to the highway anyway. And I filled up my cooler with beers, and I grabbed 5 beers because I figured it's 2 nights. Maybe I'll only drink 2 or 3 of them, but I'll at least have some options based on what I'm feeling. So I grabbed a bunch of beers that I didn't think that you would drink, put them in a cooler, and then drove out to Indianapolis. So the first beer that I cracked was a West Side beer. And I cracked it before she even got to the house. West Side. I know, right? Because I got there first. And nobody else was there yet. They were still at least 30 minutes away. And I was like, I don't know what our plans are, but I know we're going to walk wherever it is that we're going next. So I'm just going to drink beer. And we're I'm helping them bring their stuff in the house and get them all situated. And my friend looks at the beer and just starts laughing. And I'm like, what? Oh, I brought the West Side Brewing Brett Farmhouse Ale.
Oh.
And her husband's name is Brett. So she had to take a picture to send it to him. I was like, I totally did not plan this, but let's pretend like I did.
That's funny.
Yeah, so it was really good. And it was more West Side Best Side out of West Side Best Side. I mean, technically it was the east side of Indianapolis, but it was the west side of Cincinnati. So, I mean, west is just in relation to whatever you want, I guess. All sides are the west side.
All the best sides are the west side.
Also true.
But West Side, this is the West Side show, by the way. The West Side Brewing show.
Welcome to the West Side Parenting Podcast.
Dude, that should have been our name.
We should have done that.
Could have collaborated with West Side. We can still do that. West Side Brewing, if you're listening to this.
You should sponsor us.
And you want to sponsor us?
Because we love your beers and we drink them all anyways. But yeah, this pineapple Gose is super yummy. And you poured me a lot of this, so it's going to take me a hot second to finish this.
Oh, that's okay. We have to do 3 separate glasses because these are so different.
I mean, technically, we could pour this into the first glass because it's all the same base and this is just the base. And then we only have to get 4 glasses dirty instead of 6.
That's okay. We need to.
But I mean, the dishwasher is going to run anyway, and we have room for 2 more dishes in the dishwasher. So just make the dishwasher do a little bit more work.
We need to rotate the glassware. Make sure,
Make sure they all get equal loving.
Is there anything else that you have in your research about Goses?
So we were talking about Gose beers.
Yes, we were.
And according to hopculture.com, the somewhat disgusting origin of the Gose, America's new favorite beer. This is an article from 2017, so it's been a hot second. But so this originated in Goslar, Germany, where the waters of the Abzucht and Gose met because they used the saline waters of the Gose River. And this beer is from the 16th century, which means the 1600s, or no, I mean the 1500s.
I thought you had an article pulled up on the laptop.
I did, but I have to find it again.
I was reading about it a little bit. It was a very long article. And it said that the style of Gose is older than the Reinheitsgebot.
It is older than the Reinheitsgebot. And they made an exception for it because it was older than the Reinheitsgebot. But it was such a beloved regional drink.
Right. So you'll get this style of beer in a specific town or region of Germany.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it in Bavaria.
Yeah, and this was an open fermentation vessel. They just throw the barrels into taverns where they would continue to ferment in the cool basements, and the bunghole of the barrel would be closed, but the sheave hole? I don't know what a sheave hole is. Marco, what's a sheave hole? I'm so confused. Actually, do I want to know what a sheave hole is? I don't. But the bunghole would be closed. I know what a bunghole is. I don't, but a different hole would remain open so that the krausen, or foam, could escape the barrel. And then when the foam stops bubbling through the sheave hole, the beer was poured into long-necked bottles. And then instead of capping it with a cork, you just left it open. Because as the second fermentation began, the active yeast would rise to the top of the bottle and just form a natural plug. What? We're all learning together right now, folks.
Science.
At the beginning of World War II, there was only one Gose brewery that had survived in Germany. But by 1945, it too had shut its doors. And only a few passionate brewers and a handful of small pubs kept it going. And in the 1960s, it was no longer in Germany. But fortunately, in the 1980s, when all the fun stuff started happening with craft beer, a guy named Lothar Goldhahn purchased an old Gosenschaken and decided it would be fitting for the pub to sell Gose. And he scraped enough information together to bring back the beer. And then he finally convinced the Schultheiss Berliner Weissbrauerei in East Berlin to begin brewing Gose once again. Did I mention the year? Because that was 1985.
And this was when the wall was still up. There was East Germany and West Germany.
Yeah, if it was 85, I would go with yes.
And you just said East Germany.
And then in 2013, Lost Nation Brewing in Vermont began selling a Gose simply called Gose. This was also before beers had really wonky names. But it was the start of when beers were going to start having really, really wonky names. And then other breweries started to pick up the trend. And so because they didn't have the Gose River to get the naturally salty water.
Wait. Last Jedi guy. What flavors did the brewers get from the Gose River?
Salt.
So brewers in the United States add salt when they brew stuff. And then this article ends with, we can only hope that the style is here to stay. Well, I can tell you that it is because it's 2022 and I am drinking the style right now. But that was, oh my goodness, that article was a ride.
All right. Well, we have one more from our friends over at West Side Brewing.
West Side, West Side. Oh, this is the one I just casually mentioned the ingredients to you, and you were like, what? This was my first glass. So I think that was my second glass. I think that's supposed to be my third glass.
No. You have a glass here.
Oh, okay.
This is used.
I have two of the same glass, which is why I'm confused. This is a yummy one, though.
They're just so different, though.
They are so different.
And I think there's a fourth variant, too. Well, I don't remember. The West Side shared a picture of all of their Gose beers, which is the reason why I was like, well, maybe we should do a bonus episode on Goses because I'm interested in it. It's so fascinating about the Reinheitsgebot. They're very strict in Germany. They're like, our beer has to have these ingredients, and then they make an exception for this. It's so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Of course, Germany is a complicated country. There was the whole wall thing.
Mm-hmm.
And does East Germany follow the law of the Reinheitsgebot? Like, how does that work? They're technically two separate countries.
But they're the same base culture, so it's...
No, it's a law. Like, it's on the book, right? It's in the books, but all of a sudden, after World War II, there's this wall, and they're two separate countries.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think East Germany had to necessarily follow that law, but I guess it was ingrained in the culture. But then I guess it kind of died, as you already said. Anyway, so what are we drinking next?
So our last Gose that we're going to drink from West Side Brewing is a cucumber and serrano Gose, a traditional German-style sour ale brewed with spices with flavor added. I'm assuming that's going to be either the cucumber or serrano. It is also 3.9% ABV and 7 IBUs. This description is, cloudy yellow with a fluffy white head, our German-style Gose uses sea salt and coriander to make a truly unique beer. This base beer lends aromas of bread dough, lemon, and a hint of lactic acid, and the addition of the flavors of cucumbers and serrano chili peppers give it both a touch of coolness and a touch of heat.
I will say this is very heavy cucumber. It's kind of on the front end. On the front end, it's very heavy cucumber.
And then you just get like, why does my mouth feel funny? Oh yeah, it's got pepper in it.
And there you can taste the salt in this too.
Yes, you can.
So it's cucumber, kind of salty, and then burning.
It's a low burn though. It's just like a slight tingle on your tongue. Well, for me. I mean, if you do not like spicy things, you will not enjoy this beer. Because the cucumber does not make enough of the heat go away.
You can kind of taste the pepper too.
Yeah, but like if you like mild to moderately spicy things, you'll be good with this beer. I mean, if you like more than moderately spiced things, you'll like this beer too.
This isn't as refreshing as the other two. Like if it's 105 degrees.
Oh, I would still pound this. But to quote Chris, this beer slaps. So
it does slap. I'm just saying, if it's 105 degrees out.
Bussin', no cap. So I don't know what that last one is. I just know it's a button on Shift Beers. So
you're wearing an Astra shirt.
I am.
Shout out to Shift Beers.
Because we went to a brewery and I was like, I should just put on a different brewery shirt. And I saw a guy there in a West Side shirt, and I should have told him that I liked his shirt, but I did not because I was busy chasing after a toddler.
I didn't see the West Side guy. I saw the brewer. So we just got back from Wooden Cask.
Yes, Wooden Cask Brewing, which Joe thought he had never been to before, and I'm like, I've been there. And then we pull in the parking lot, and he's like, oh, I've been here before. And I'm like, yeah. Though I did go there on my own once, so I waited until you made your judgment that you had, in fact, been there.
Yeah, so the jury's out if I'm going to count it towards the breweries I haven't been to before.
I mean, it's been a long while since we've been there. I mean, it's also been a long while since we've been to Mad Tree 1.0, but technically no one can go to Mad Tree 1.0 anymore.
It's been a while since we've been to a lot of places. I mean, we went to Fibonacci when it opened.
Yeah. I mean, this, like, last weekend was, like, crazy. Because I was like, we did a 1,000-piece puzzle.
This was when you were in Indianapolis.
Yeah, because there were no children. No dogs. I mean, technically none of us had husbands there either, but they don't create as much of a mess as the children and the dogs do. So like we did a whole 1,000-piece puzzle in one night. It was like less than 4 hours total. Might have even been less than 3 hours total because we took a break to get dinner.
Yeah, don't get too crazy.
We were wild and crazy people Saturday night.
So, what did you do in Indianapolis? So you had an Airbnb.
Yes, we had an Airbnb. We stayed in a little house. It was like
Was it downtown?
No, but it was like be like Brooklyn. So like you're not like downtown, but you're very downtown adjacent. So it didn't take us long to get downtown.
It's like
and it was very
over the Rhine.
No, a little further out than over the Rhine. Maybe closer to like UC.
UC to so University of Cincinnati to downtown Cincinnati.
But everything is flat.
No, that's helpful. So you could walk.
So you could walk a lot of places. You could bike a lot of places. Like there were bike paths all over the place. And I was like, this would never work in Cincinnati because you'd go up one hill and then you'd just be pooped. You'd be done. I know people do it, but...
Oh, they're trying. They did the big red bike thing, and now they do the scooters because people are lazy.
Yeah. So it was just we hung out for the weekend. So Saturday night, a friend shows up with her friend, who now is my friend, because I only knew one out of the 3 other people that were coming. So Saturday night, we walked to a bar because they have pizza. The pizza's okay. The beer was pretty good, though. I don't remember what I got, just that it was in New England.
Are you the only one that drank?
No, her friend got a beer too. Her friend got bubbles because there was Rheingeist all over the place. I'm like, hey, I know that place. I can get their beer whenever I want it. And then we went back to the house, and then her future sister-in-law joined us, and we played Suspicion, which was very confusing for everybody at first, and then they got it, and we had a lot of fun. And then we played...
Remember when we tried to play that with my parents?
I did tell them how we tried to play that with your parents, and it did not go well. I'm like, it's not that hard. Just let me get through the rules once so you can understand. And then we played a lot of rounds of telestrations. But it was telestrations that would have made Steven cringe because
Did you house rule it?
We did. Because she's like, well, you're supposed to like roll a die and then pick a card, and everybody goes off the same side. And then it's like, so if it's 4, like you're supposed to do number 4. She's like, just pick a card and pick a thing. So we just picked a card and picked a thing.
Wait, do you hear that? In the distance, I hear a Steven screaming.
Ah!
Hey, Last Jedi guy, what is Steven eating?
Salt. And then we all went to bed. And the next morning, one of them made pancakes. So we had chocolate chip pancakes and blueberry pancakes. They were very yummy.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, that was the nice thing about like staying in a house, was if we wanted to cook stuff, we could. But if we didn't want to cook stuff, we didn't have to because there was stuff within walking distance. And then our plan was to hang out in town because we were going to go to a museum and we were going to make candles and we were just going to go shop. And we did a lot of walking. So we went downtown and we went to the Eiteljorg Museum, which is... I need to look it up because it's hard to pronounce. And I've got the pamphlet for it upstairs.
3 days later.
So, yeah, it's just the Eiteljorg Museum. And their description is, the Eiteljorg tells the stories of the peoples of North America and all of their diversity and complexity. So it's a lot of Native American art. But then there's also modern day Native American art, which is really cool to see too. And so like Eiteljorg is very like Scandinavian region of Europe last name, which does not totally jibe with the whole place, but it's because he was an art collector who really enjoyed their pieces. So he purchased a bunch of stuff, and they're like 50+% of the items in the museum were donated by the family, but they also have grants and they do like contests every year where they sponsor people to make more art to put into the museum.
Oh, cool.
So it's lots of fun. So it was really cool. We got to see lots of really cool art pieces. They have a really cool children's area downstairs. Like I took a video and I was like, hey, look at this really awesome kid space that the kids could play in. But I left them at home. Suck it, kids. And then like they had a whole exhibit on Warhol's West because Andy Warhol was like uber obsessed with Native American art. And he was actually planning on doing a whole series of Native American inspired things, but he only ended up doing like 11 to 15 different pieces before he passed. But you couldn't take pictures in Warhol's West exhibit because it was like a traveling exhibit and super like lockdown kind of thing. Sometimes you can't take photos in art museums. It's art. It makes sense.
I don't know. We were in the Louvre. That's all people did was take pictures of the Mona Lisa and stuff.
Well, it depends on where you are and what it is. But so the crazy thing that they had on, because they had like little descriptions of stuff and like about Andy Warhol and about the pieces. And when he passed away, they auctioned off everything in his house, and it took 9 days of auctions, maybe even 11 days of those auctions. But like a straight 2+ days were just devoted to the Native American pieces because he had so much.
Who is this guy? Do we know him?
Campbell Soup Can. Funky Colors. He did a bunch of stuff in like the 60s.
He's the guy on the Campbell Soup Can?
No, he's the guy that did the Campbell Soup Can art thing. He did the Marilyn Monroe thing. He did lots of screen prints.
I don't know that.
Oh my goodness.
I guess I'm not cultured enough.
You don't recognize the Campbell Soup Cans?
No.
No, you are, yeah.
You uncultured swine!
So anyways, we went to the art museum and then we went downtown because we were going to make us some candles. But we had a reservation, which is good that we did because they started turning people away. So we went to a place called The Garage, which so apparently there was a big Coke bottling plant in Indianapolis at one point. And it was only like 2 stories tall because there were like 3 blocks of just the Coca-Cola company on the side of the building.
Suck it, Indianapolis. You get lousy Coke bottling plants. We get Christian Moorlane bottling plants.
Yeah. So, but one of the places they had converted into like a pretty open space, but they had put essentially like different shipping containers inside of it. And it was like a food truck food court. So like they were permanently affixed, like it's like a mall food court, but there was no mall. And it was all like food truck-esque things. So there's like burger place, an Indian and Pakistani place, like 2 health food places, a fish and chips place, a seafood place, definitely different things, and a Greek place. And then they had like 3 different bars in there too.
3 different bars?
Yes.
Why do you need 3 different bars? How big was this place?
Huge. So, because my friend, her little bundle of joy is not happy with her eating most foods. So you're like, whatever seems like it will be good to you, that's what you should get. And then I was walking around trying to figure out what I was going to get. And I made it through like 3/4 of the place. And then I saw a Greek restaurant and I was like, don't care getting this. So I got some Tiropita.
You didn't get a gyro?
Getting there. So we got some like Tiropita or Tiropita. It's basically like phyllo dough triangles stuffed with cheese. So good. And a Greek salad. Also good. But it was like small. And a gyro.
With the tzatziki sauce.
With the ziki sauce, yes.
Tzatziki sauce.
You do you, boo. And then my friend ended up getting hummus with pita because she thought that sounded good. And she only ended up eating the pita. And I took the hummus home.
And that's how I got hummus in my refrigerator.
That is how you got hummus in your refrigerator.
3 days later. Or a week later.
Hey, it was really yummy with my lunch today. With my little mini charcuterie board. It was slightly nicer than the toddlers' charcuterie boards. So we got some food. And then we just started walking towards the candle place. and we entered into some shops on the way to the candle place,
Mm.
and then made ourselves some candles. I was indecisive, and I made 2 candles because one was a sweet candle and the other one was like a savory candle, and I couldn't decide which one I wanted more, so I just made them both, not together but separate. So I have darkness cake, which is cake batter, dark chocolate, and blackberries, and Bridgetown Brewing Company, which is hops, teakwood, and peppercorn.
Which is a fake company, IRS.
Yes, which is a fake company.
Don't add us.
But then we had to wait 2 hours to pick up our candles because they needed a set before we could pick them up. So we did more shopping and walked to a Sub-Zero ice cream place.
Oh, the nitro?
Yeah, the nitro, like
nitrogen.
Yeah, it's the nitrogen ice cream bar where they mix your ice cream in front of you with liquid nitrogen, and it goes whoosh, and there's like a cascading
I saw your
waterfall.
Snapchat of that. And that's different than Cold Stone, right?
Yes,
Because
it is different than Cold Stone because Cold Stone, they do that, but it's on a very cold stone, hence why it's Cold Stone.
And they like mix it and then
Yeah, I feel like we went to a Sub-Zero in Siesta Key with your sister. Maybe we walked to one.
it was Siesta Key, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have been to one. It was good.
Yes.
Cold Stone was good too. There used to be one at the levee.
Yeah. But when we parked the car at the museum, we noticed that people were people look like they're wearing capes. Oh, those are flags. Okay, this makes more sense. And then we got to the museum before it opened, so we walked along the canal and noticed on the other side of the canal was Indy Pride Festival, and we're like, sweet. Okay, that's fine. We did not know it was Pride weekend in Indy, but that makes sense because it's also Pride weekend in Cincinnati. Went through the museum, and then we parked near the garage because that was way closer to candles than the museum had been. And we really struggled to find a parking spot because then we learned that we were not the parade. We were very, very close to the parade. And we got really lucky because I guess somebody pulled out of a spot like 5 minutes before we pulled into it, and nobody else tried to get into it first because there was this little tiny lot and there was one spot in it and we took it. Otherwise, I have no idea where we would have parked because we passed 3 different lots that said lot full and wouldn't even let us in.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you mean you were the parade?
The parade had like just gotten out, and so there was just like parade people all on the sidewalks. So we're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have come this way. I don't know. There were no cops stopping us. We were fine, but
Like, did you drive everyone in the van?
no, I was a passenger. But I have car seats, and her future sister-in-law does not have car seats because she doesn't have children. So she was like, well, I don't have to take out car seats, so I'll just drive. And I was like, okay. So she drove.
Does she have a van?
No, she just had a crossover SUV. So we walked candles. We made candles. Took forever to figure out what all smells we wanted to do. Very rough decisions. We are not great people at making decisions. And then we walked down Massachusetts Avenue, or Mass Ave, as the signs on the ground say at the crosswalks. Indianapolis is very confusing. They have 6-way intersections. It's 3 streets that meet at once. And so you have to cross the street twice to go straight. Yeah, that face. That was like me just trying to get around. Eventually we got into the groove of it.
I don't remember that.
We also didn't hang out downtown Indianapolis.
I did business downtown multiple times.
You walked? It's definitely easier if you're driving.
Yeah, I mean, I went through the Thoroughway and there was the circle with the monument.
Yeah.
Are you talking about that?
No, I'm talking about like every other intersection, if not every single one we did when we were walking down Mass Avenue was a 6-way.
No, we walked to lunch and I don't remember that.
Yeah, very confusing.
Walked a couple blocks too. I remember.
But there were all these parties going on. This was really cool because like the bars were packed, the streets were packed, lots and lots of shopping. And then we walked back because by the time we made it to ice cream and had done some shopping, it was time to start heading back to the candle place. So we made it to the candle place like 5 minutes after you can pick up your candles in 2 hours.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. And then we went back to the car to go back to the house because we all wanted to rest because we had done a lot of walking.
And then I was texting you.
Mm-hmm.
Please come home.
Yeah.
Kids are being annoying.
And I'm like, Bish, it's Saturday. Party people. And then we did a puzzle. Because I purchased a puzzle. What is this? Some kind of nerd thing? Yes, it is. Because they have these old-timey puzzles, like they're vintage style puzzles, because they're in a canister. And I remember my mom having the canister puzzles and doing those a bunch when I was a kid. But her puzzles were annoying because some of them are round. And I don't know if you know this, Joe, but puzzles that are round do not have corner pieces for you to establish things off of.
Oh, that's rude.
It's very rude.
How rude.
But so I remember doing mom's like classic storybook puzzles. And I was like, oh, these look really cute. And then I saw one that was the national parks. And I was like, oh, that's okay. But then I saw one that was a map of the United States and the locations of all of the parks and national monuments, like on that map. And it listed what all of them were at the bottom.
So you purchased this?
Yeah. So I purchased this.
Where is it?
It's downstairs because it's educational too, because it's also a map of the United States and it's where all the parks are. So
makes sense.
And then when we got back to the house, I was like, well, what do we want to do? And nobody really said anything. I was like, puzzle? And everybody was like, yeah. So then we did a puzzle while listening to Hamilton, because then I played Hamilton on my phone. I was a musical that I could just put on in the background. Well, no, originally we were going to listen to the Muppets version of Hamilton, but 2 out of the 4 people there had not seen Hamilton. So if you haven't seen Hamilton, the Muppets version of Hamilton is confusing because I'll play the start of it for you. But so Gonzo is Aaron Burr, who is like a very speaky character.
Neither of us have.
I have seen Hamilton.
When did you see Hamilton?
I watched it on the couch when you were doing something else that wasn't Hamilton. Because like you wanted to watch something else or you weren't here. And I was like, I'm going to watch Hamilton. So I've watched Hamilton. But so it starts off with Gonzo being Aaron Burr. And at some point, very quickly into the scenario, Beaker comes in. But like he's supposed to be telling you stuff. But Beaker only says, me, 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 me. So you don't know what he's saying. So if you haven't watched the regular Hamilton at least once, you won't get the Muppets Hamilton. So then I just played regular Hamilton. But because a podcast that I listened to had mentioned that there was a Muppets version of Hamilton, I was like, I would like to listen to this at some point. And then I was like, we could listen to this now. This sounds like an interesting thing. And then I was like, no, y'all haven't seen the musical, so y'all are going to get confused. And I don't know if I can listen to Gonzo talk this much right now because I don't have kids right here. So I don't want to be annoyed by anything if I don't have to. So we'll just play regular Hamilton. And then I made them all be quiet whenever whenever Kristoff was singing as the king.
I think that does it, though.
It probably does. So then Sunday morning we got breakfast and I came home and discovered that I had a nail in one of my tires that I got fixed yesterday. So it's all good now.
So this is the Gose episode.
Plus Caroline went to Indy. Plus the frick is going on with Goses.
Yeah, so we drank West Side's base Gose, West Side's pineapple Gose, and then the cucumber serrano Gose, all by West Side Brewing.
And they're all great, like Goses. West Side, West Side. Gose's a great style. Like, give it a try. Because, like, if you don't like sours, it's like a gateway sour.
I would say so, yeah.
Because it's not, like, super sour, but it's going to get you, like, kind of accustomed to it.
And with that... Thanks so much for listening to this week's bonus episode. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Search for @CraftParenting Podcast on all those platforms to find us. You can also get a hold of us via email, which is craftparentingpodcast@gmail.com.
If you like what you hear, please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. Make sure to share the show. That's what helps our show grow. And if you'd like to send us stuff, such as fan mail, craft supplies, sanity, sleep, we have a P.O. box.
All this information is available on our website, which is www.craftparentingpodcast.com.
That's where we post the show notes, plus some of the stuff that doesn't make it into the blog. Oh, this is the podcast. That's the blog. We post the show notes on the blog, and sometimes we blog about things that don't show up on the podcast. So check out the blog for stuff that doesn't show up in the podcast, because this is the podcast. And then check out the podcast for stuff that happens that isn't in the blogs. What is happening? I don't know. Take us home. Oh, wait, I am home.
And with that, I'm Joe.
And I'm Caroline.
See you next time on the Craft Parenting Podcast.
0.5. Just dying over here, and I don't know why.
Is it because of the
salt?
Probably. Oh, we're leaving all that in, aren't we? Salinity is just one of those words that looks really weird. Though the word October looks really weird to me recently because I'm so used to seeing Oktoberfest instead of October.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, why is it spelled with the C? Where's the K?
That's weird. Yeah. That's weird.
I podcast. I can talk. This is fine. This is normal. Everything's great. So we found a place to go get lunch called The Garage.
What was that?
I don't know. It's like a thing that wanted to be a burp, but wasn't a burp. So we went to a place called...
Is this like Brian Steven?
I guess so. Because sometimes our brains are just stupid. But I mean, really, we're just... Oh, there's a thing. Because basically, like, we are our brains. Like, if you think about this too much, like, your head is going to melt. Like, we are brains... So we are like encased in bone and then meat suits.
Yes.
Like that is us. But it's just like we're encased in bone and meat suits. And that's how we exist as a thing. Because if you don't have a brain, you can't like make all of the things move properly and stuff.
Correct.
And